Welcome, my name is Tonya and this is a presentation of my experiences with authentic assessments in teaching art at the elementary level. This presentation is for Art-6520 at Western Michigan University. After 10 years of teaching art in public school, I have taught many lessons, many successful, and if I'm being honest, many that were not. To me, success in a lesson results in a meaningful student experience, rich with understanding and knowledge. I've discovered that by giving students, even young ones, real authentic opportunities, the results are far richer than the guided step-by-step lessons that are all too common in art education today. Last year, I created a lesson for my first grade students. It was rich with experimentation and was a way for the students to combine meaning with content. The end results were far from beautiful, at least from an outsider's perspective. It brought up a lot of questions and it forced me to look at ways to document and share the learning process so that everyone could understand the students' experiences besides just looking at the end product. This search has led me to discover authentic assessments. Authentic assessments allow me to record and measure student learning and understanding. This is important because I believe in giving students the opportunity to explore and learn as real artists do. So what is authentic assessment? It is a form of assessment in which students are asked to perform real-world tasks that demonstrate meaningful application of essential knowledge and skills. If you think about it, real artists are not given directions on how to create their art. They explore, observe, practice, fail. They use their critical thinking and creative thinking to get results. It is believed that it is in this process where the richness of thought and understanding exists. Grant Wiggins is famous for coining the term authentic assessment, and he points out that he simply meant to give real-world opportunities to students, to get away from fill in the blanks and paper and pencil and multiple choice, and do tasks that people do in the real world. Authentic assessments were originally intended for regular academic settings, but there are many benefits for using them in the visual arts. Obviously, they give real-life experiences. There's attention on process of a product. The work is student-centered. There's greater engagement, greater creative thinking and critical thinking, multiple outcomes, and meaningful lessons. Authentic assessments lend themselves easily to art education because our curriculum is heavily project-based. It is important to point out that it's how we approach the projects that make this difference. It's important to do them often so that the students are used to the format of teaching. It's important to break down the projects for the students. It's important to not dwell on rules, to think outside the box and be creative in how you engage the learners. Always write your lessons backwards, starting with the assessment first. Cater to the students' interests. What do they want to be doing? How would they approach the lesson? And lastly, never underestimate the power of reflection. For me personally, I find it easiest if I ask myself who is doing the thinking, me or the student. How can I write the lesson so that the student is making the discoveries and not being fed them? I often think if a lesson results in very similar final works, then maybe I have failed in the process of being creative. It's important to point out that it's okay to control some of the lesson. Actually, with elementary age students, you have to control. This is not free choice, but a constructive project that is realistic in nature and has many avenues of showing student learning. Some suggestions for authentic assessments in elementary art are portfolios, journals, bookmaking, comic strips, storytelling, map making, timelines, construction, model building, experimenting, designing, proposals, reviews, analysis. The possibilities are endless. My favorite type of lessons are when students approach a topic in different ways before making a final piece. Here, my third grade students studied observations of their environment, combine them with the practice of printmaking techniques. They chose their printing plate and how they would make their print, but the best part of the lesson is that they recorded all of their questions and ideas, observations and practice techniques in a journal. Here, 4th grade students did similar work. They approached figure drawing through observations, gesture drawing, sculpture, comic strips. At the end of the project, they presented and reflected upon their best representation of the human figure. In this 2nd grade lesson, students designed their own building and then collaborated to design an urban plan of an imaginary city. I believe that young students make great artists in their own right thanks to their curious nature. Lessons that work well with this nature are explorations of theme, such as shape, like in the Peter Reynolds' The Dot, or with emotion. A common lesson that is authentic in nature is painting to music. Let the students guide the lesson. Choose the music, the brushstrokes, colors. When we did this lesson, there was a point in which the whole class was moving and painting to Madagascar's "We Like to Move It, Move It." Lastly, it is important to remember that this is an assessment. Design the lesson backwards, focusing on what you plan to measure and how. Rubrics, guidelines, targets are all important communication tools in doing this. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation and will look at using authentic assessments to enhance your student learning process. Thank you.